Hey guys, it's Zachary from HardwareZone, and today we're going to be talking about these. I've got the Samsung Galaxy Watch 6, the Watch 6 Classic, and as a bonus, the Watch 5 Pro. Let's get to it. Before we go to the new watches, a little backstory. About 2 years ago, Samsung overhauled their whole smartwatch product line with the Galaxy Watch 4 series, and it was amazing because it had new hardware, brand new sensors, new software. Samsung ditched Tizen OS and fully embraced Wear OS, which brought the Google ecosystem into Android smartwatches on the mainstream, and it basically won our best smartwatch of the year for our Tech Awards. Now then, when the Galaxy Watch 5 rolled around, it felt very underwhelming because the Watch 5 was literally the Watch 4 spec to spec, besides a slight battery bump, and that was it. Even software-wise, the Watch 5 came with Wear OS 3.5 when the Watch 4 was Wear OS 3. Didn't really see that big of a difference, and eventually all the software improvements were filtered down into the Watch 4 as well. So as far as anybody is concerned, the entire usage experience between the Watch 4 and 5 was exactly the same. The only thing the Watch 5 brought was for Samsung to basically introduce the Watch Pro. And the Pro is sort of similar to how Apple is doing Apple Watches now, and Apple Watch and Apple Watch Ultra. The Pro is the rugged watch with sapphire glass, titanium body, even larger battery life, and basically the one single sort of feature that is exclusive to the Pro version, at least up till now, which is offline mapping and route tracking with GPX file support. The Watch 5 also introduced a skin temperature sensor, which allows you to supposedly at least track menstrual cycles as well as sleep. Just one more metric for sleep, because now you have skin temperature as well. But you don't ever see us talking about it, because for the entire time that the Watch 5 was released, its lifespan from the time Watch 5 was launched till the time Watch 6 was launched, this temperature sensor was never activated in Singapore. So we finally come to the Watch 6. Now the Watch 6 series features two devices. You've got the standard, no bezel. You've got the classic with the rotating bezel, but no Pro. So the Watch 5 Pro is still the only Pro device in the whole series. Now we'll come to that a bit later. The interesting thing here is that the Watch 6 does come with the expected hardware and software improvements. This has Samsung's One UI 5, Wear OS 4.0, whereas the Watch 5 came with or at least at that time, Wear OS 3.5. So there were some software features that were launched with the Watch 6, better sleep tracking, some new feature called sleep coaching, and a sleep animal, sleep avatar sort of thing. It's like a gamification of your sleep scores. It's very similar to how Fitbit does their sleep profiles, except that Fitbit is behind the Fitbit Premium paywall while Samsung is free. So one up for Samsung. There are also some other features like heart fall detection, automatic emergency contact, and those kind of things. But while I was testing these watches, so I'm going to go out for a run with both the Watch 6 Classic and the Watch 5 Pro, see if there's any performance differences in tracking and GPS and all that between these two generations. And as a bit of fun, I'm also going to have this Watch 6. Probably a bad idea, but let's do this. Guess what? The One UI 5 and Wear OS 4 upgrade came for my Watch 5 Pro. So at this point, while you're watching this review, all these three watches are now exactly the same. So with all these features the same now, you can actually go back and watch my Watch 4 review, which is where I basically go in depth to all the new functions of the Galaxy Watch series. So if, for example, you wanted to know, hey, can Samsung Pay and Google Pay function together in the same watch? How does Samsung's bioactive sensor work? What are the new features of the bioactive sensor? What I can do with it? And all those kind of things. Check out my Watch 4 review, because basically 95% of that review is still relevant here. The functions and features are all the same throughout the generations, from Watch 4, Watch 5, Watch 6. From here onwards, I'm just going to talk about the differences in the Watch 6, what has actually changed, what's my experience using it, and is it worth it? Now, both watches on the Watch 6 series come in two sizes each, 40 and 44 mm for the Watch 6, 43 and 47 mm for the Watch 6 Classic. For the standard Watch 6, this is actually the same size as the Watch 4 and the Watch 5, while the Watch 6 Classic is 1 mm larger on both sizes than the Watch 4 Classic. Now, if this is starting to get confusing for you, don't worry, just remember that there are two sizes for each watch. One is smaller, one is larger. What I have here is the larger version of each. So I have the 44 mm Watch 6 and 47 mm Watch 6 Classic. And what I have here is the 45 mm Watch 5 Pro as a sort of control unit to see the difference between the size. Even if the Watch 6 is 1 mm smaller than the Watch 5 Pro, at a glance it just looks bigger because the actual screen display on both the Watch 6 and the Watch 6 Classic is larger, brighter, sharper than any other Galaxy Watch before it. And the screen really does feel so much better to look at and to navigate that I would actually say for the Watch 6 that I'm okay with either version. I would actually love to navigate with swiping on the Watch 6 without the bezel. I do still like the bezel. I am still team bezel, but this screen is so easy to navigate, so easy and so smooth to scroll, and even if you have the standard watch, it doesn't feel like you miss the bezel like in previous versions. Smaller screen, just a bit more fiddly in nature. This isn't. And if I really wanted to nitpick, I would actually say that the 6 Classic's bezel is not that great. I don't know if you can see, but the distance between each click on the bezel seems to be wider than in previous generations. It's just not that satisfying tactile click to it. You have some looseness in between. As you can see, I can get, like, if I just move it like that, I can move quite a bit and you can see the screen start to change without me actually getting into one click. And the clicks are sort of looser than before. I don't know. Like I said, this is just a nitpick on my behalf, but both these watches are great now. I would actually recommend either of them. The Watch 6 does come with a minor spec bump. You have a 1.4 GHz processor now, 2 GB of RAM, whereas the previous versions had a 1.18 GHz processor with 1.5 GB of RAM. So about 200 MHz more processing power and 500 megabytes more RAM. Does that actually make a difference? Well, when I got the watches, I would say yes, because comparing to the Watch 5 Pro, it felt like there was a slight lag when I tried to move between screens or start up apps, whereas on Watch 6 it was smoother. I wouldn't say that it was faster, it's just that the experience felt smoother in a sense that there wasn't that, you know, that jitter when you touched it, especially when it's on standby and you turn it up and you want to swipe. It was more immediate on the Watch 6 and it just felt smoother in that way. But ever since I got the new Wear OS 4 update on the Watch 5 Pro, it sort of evened out again. It's like it feels it feels smoother now, and it feels faster, and it kind of feels the same. So is there any real difference that you can experience day to day between the Watch 5 and the Watch 6? Not really sure. I guess it will really depend on how you use your watches, the apps that you run, how many things you run in the background, whether you run Spotify, whether you have a lot of notifications going on in the background. You have Telegram, you have WhatsApp, and you have your calendars and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, slightly more RAM, slightly more processing power. It does help, but probably you won't notice it on an average day-to-day just using your watch. Now, the Watch 6 also has a larger battery life, but this will really depend on what version of watches you had before to compare with. Remember that the Watch 6 Classic had no Watch 5, so you had to compare it with the Watch 4 Classic. And the Watch 4 Classic came with, if I remember correctly, 360 milliamp battery. This has a 425 milliamp battery, so it's a big enough difference that you may notice a difference if you're upgrading from a 4 Classic to a 6 Classic. But on the 6, if you had a 4, definitely it's that same difference. But if you had a 5, it's only 15 milliamp difference of battery. So 425 and 410. So it's minuscule. In terms of actual battery performance, day-to-day usage, I would say these will definitely give you a full day of use. You can even stretch it to 2 days of use if you don't turn on the always on display. If you turn on the always on display, you're gonna have to charge it every day. Again, I have gotten it to stretch to the second day, but if you're going to track your sleep and all that, you never know, you might wake up with a dead watch. So it's about 10:40 and we've got 14% battery left. Gonna go to sleep and see if it's able to last just one more night, or I'll wake up with a dead watch. We'll see in the morning. Good night. The Watch 6 now comes with this new sort of push button quick release strap that you just have to press. I should show it to you, right? This button, you just have to press it down, and okay, that's supposed to be a quick release. I actually still have to look at it. Okay, so yeah, it's still some leverage, but yes, you press this button and you can get it out and just click it back in. I'm really not doing this elegantly, am I? Yes, anyway, finally figured it out. Strap, press the button, slot it in, done. Press, slot it out, done. Yes, I got it. That took longer than I thought it would. What's interesting is that all these straps are compatible, right? It's not a specific Watch 6 feature. All the Galaxy watches have the same size for straps. I think it's 20 mm, so you can take the new straps, put it on the old watch. It doesn't really matter. What's interesting is that because the Galaxy watches are becoming more mainstream, becoming more popular, there are a lot more third-party accessories and brands that are making straps for them. Like for example, Casetify has a lot of straps for the Galaxy Watch as well, and you just have a wider range to play with. And that's probably fun. That's a good thing for the ecosystem, but not specifically a feature of the Watch 6. Now, I do want to address something with these watches, and that is the built-in sensor. I'm talking about heart rate sensor, activity trackers. Now, these two watches, the Watch 6 and the Watch 5 Pro, come with Samsung Bioactive sensor, and these two are exactly the same. And I think Samsung hasn't actually updated or changed this since the Watch 4. So All three generations of watches have the same bioactive sensor, they have the same specs, same features, theoretically the same performance. Obviously, the Watch 6 has a working skin temperature sensor, and ever since the Wear OS 4.0 update, the Watch 5 Pro also has a working skin temperature sensor. So everything's hunky-dory. I don't know why I said hunky-dory. But anyway, I'm going to assume that at this point you watched my Watch 4 review, because I did have some problems with Samsung sensors in general, not specifically the bioactive sensor or the Watch 4, but Samsung heart rate sensors in general. I keep getting like erratic heart rate tracking, especially when I'm working out and my wrists are wet. In the past, I'm happy to report that this has been completely fixed, and these watches, the Watch 6 or even the Watch 5 Pro, have been rock solid for me, and that's really great. It doesn't matter whether I'm sleeping, I'm working out, whether my hands are wet with sweat or anything. The moment the heart rate tracking is tracking, it tracks solidly. Very weird sentence, but yeah, it doesn't deviate. It's really good, it's really consistent, and I'm really happy with it. I do have one little personal nitpick about the whole activity tracking or workout tracking in general. Now, this has nothing to do with the Watch 6. This is also a Samsung thing. If you go into any Samsung watch, generations now, and nothing has changed. If you just click an activity like running, for example, by default, you just get this countdown and the activity starts, right? The problem with this is that from time to time, I accidentally activate an activity without knowing. Sometimes you accidentally press buttons or move screens. And I know it's not common, but there have been times where I thought it was fun to use a watch face that had a complication that allowed me to just start workouts immediately, and I have accidentally created many phantom workouts because of that. But that is the smaller thing. The bigger issue with this is because when you start a run this way, the GPS isn't locked on yet. The GPS is supposed to lock on as you run. You know, you just want to quick start a run and just go, and the GPS is supposed to lock on. But we all know GPS locking on is quite a fickle thing. It really depends where you're starting your run from. I may be downstairs in my apartment block and I haven't walked out yet, and it's still cloudy or something is blocking. And I've had runs where the GPS locked almost instantly. I have runs where the GPS locked only a couple of 100 meters in the middle of the run. I've actually had runs where the GPS didn't lock on at all, and I had no route information and nothing. So the one way to get out of this is to basically go into the settings menu of a workout, and then you have individual workouts where you can go into a small little setting for that individual workout. And if you scroll down, there is a section called Workout Start, where you can change from countdown to manual. And if you do change to manual in this, it will actually start a workout where you will have to confirm that workout, right? So you can start it, wait for GPS to lock on, confirm, and go. And if you do that, everything is perfect. Once the GPS locks on, it is strong, it doesn't disconnect, heart rate strong, GPS is strong, everything is great. This is what I want as a default, not the countdown as a default. So Samsung, if you're hearing this, please change the default to this, or maybe have a global setting where I can just switch it if I want to. Right now, I have to go to individual workouts and change this setting for every single individual workout I do, and that's a huge hassle. Yeah, but that's just me anyway. You might like it, I don't know, but I find that to be a big problem. Now, let's talk price. The 44mm Watch 6 Bluetooth edition goes for just under 500 Singapore dollars, 498. And if you want the LTE version, you just add $100 to it. The 47mm Watch 6 Classic goes for 648 Singapore dollars. And again, if you want the LTE version, you add $100 to it. So the difference between the Watch 6 and the Watch 6 Classic isn't really that much. For $150, all you're really getting is a rotating bezel and a stainless steel case. This is aluminum stainless steel rotating bezel. Is that worth $150 to you? Maybe, but although it pains me to come to this conclusion, as I'm a very big fan of the rotating bezel, I'm team bezel, but as far as the Watch 6 series is concerned, I really do think that the standard Watch 6 is the better buy. Now the question we have to ask is that, is this enough? Because when Samsung launched the Galaxy Watch 4, it was the best Android smartwatch then because there was really nothing in the horizon, nothing in the market to challenge it. Samsung was the one that brought Wear OS back out into the mainstream and sort of kick-started that Wear OS development at that point in time. But unlike when the Galaxy Watch 4 was out, the Galaxy Watch 6 is going to have competition, right? While I'm making this video, there is none, but just a week away, you're going to have Pixel Watch 2 launch. You're going to have more Wear OS devices coming out from your Chinese manufacturers, your Oppos, your OnePlus, your Xiaomis, and it's going to get interesting in the scene again. And obviously the question then is, are you going to wait for these other additional devices just to see if the Watch 6 is still going to meet or match the kind of capabilities in terms of price and performance? Or you're just going to go by, hey, this is right now the only watch for me, I'm just going to get it. Now, if you're a Samsung user, again, it's a no-brainer. It's kind of like Apple. You want to lock into the ecosystem. You've got everything working for you and just get it. But if you are a standard Android user, should you wait? But it is very interesting to know what you think about the Galaxy Watch 6, about Samsung's sort of smartwatch mobile ecosystem. Tell us in the comments, what do you think? Or maybe right now you already have the Galaxy Watch 6. Have I missed anything out that I haven't addressed, that you want me to address? I still have the watches. Put them in the comments. Let me know what you want me to test. Let me know what you think of this. You may agree with me, you may not agree with me. It's all up in the air. Anyway, that's all from me. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. Check out HardwareZone.com for more in-depth reviews, features, stories, news, and see you in the next video. Samsung's sort of activity tracking or workout tracking performance, I'm still having trouble putting back these straps. I think I'm just gonna leave it. It feels really weird. Hey guys, before you go, don't forget to check out HardwareZone.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Join in the conversation. Like and subscribe to our YouTube if you want to see more of these videos. Do it.